let's go through a couple of case studies that I saw on social media and just talk through some case studies. And then I think we can end on the reaction function that Scott Besson, the Treasury Secretary, was probably looking for and is very happy with. And that, I think, in my hastily put together Brokenomics, will probably do us for today. Right, okay, so let's take an example. So can Mr. Editor, can you put up on screen the tweet from Russ Latino? Okay, so what he says is that he's just got off the phone with a business partner in Mississippi, and this guy, what he did is he took a whole bunch of, he's basically importing an absolute shed ton of stuff from China into, I think, Mississippi, he said. And he has a whole bunch of contracts with basically Walmart and Walmart type people to then ship that on. And he's got himself in a situation where he's basically got a set unit price both sides of this. So he's agreed to a set price to import this stuff from China. And I can well believe this, Walmarts have screwed him down on the contract on the other side, saying you won't charge more than this. So he's got himself this narrow profit margin between the two. He thinks he's locked in both sides, and now he's suddenly got a 54% tariff applied on this good. And well, basically he doesn't have 54% profit, so he can't absorb it. He can't pass it on. He's done for, basically. Now, again, I have sympathy for this guy, but it's what must happen. The US is too reliant on China, got too big a trade imbalance, is not producing enough at home, and frankly, Americans can learn to live without as much imported Chinese tat. And maybe this particular example isn't tat. Maybe if it's going in Walgreens, maybe it's something, oh, God knows what it is, but let's assume it's something genuinely useful. Well, I mean, actually, that more than anything is something that should be spun up at home. So yes, I've got sympathy for this chap. You know, he was doing the right thing as a man. He's providing for his family. He's making money. He's doing a hustle. No criticism should be attached to this particular gentleman, but he's importing something that either Americans don't need or they should be making themselves. And I'm afraid he is caught in the middle of a necessary action. And yes, it's a blunt action, as I've talked about at length. It is a blunt action. It is going to be painful, and this is a guy for whom it's going to be painful. He's going to lose. He's probably going to lose his business as a result of this, and lose a lot of money. And he's not going to be too happy with Trump, is he? But it's necessary. It needs to be done. And I believe the tweet also says that there were likely tens of thousands of people in a similar situation to that. Yeah, there will. There are going to be loads of American business people who find themselves losing a lot of money, and I feel sympathy for them. I feel a lot less sympathy for the people who are going to be paying slightly more for the sneakers. I mean, I just don't care. You know, the Mike Pence argument of, you know, it's going to cost us this much more when we buy our flat screens and stuff. I don't care. But people who have import-export businesses, or, you know, have their supply chain set up in a way that, you know, they were getting something from Asia, really, is the problem. Then, yeah, it's very unfortunate. But I can't say anything more than reiterate it has to happen. I'll also mention, I don't know if my editor can play a bit of it.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%.
But I found a tweet from a chap called Mays, who basically she's saying, our trade deficit with the US and China is growing. It's going to be a job loser for the United States. She was right. And that we need to do something. Now, of course, nothing did happen, including a lengthy period where Nancy Pelosi herself was in a position to do an awful lot about this. So, I mean, this is the weird thing with Democrats, right? Is 90s Democrats were actually quite based. I mean, they were quite. I mean, compared to today, 90s Democrats are usually to the right of they're easily to the right of the rhinos, but 90s Democrats are basically where MAGA is today. Well, I suppose it makes sense because Donald Trump himself was a 90s Democrat. I mean, that's worth bearing in mind, isn't it? That, the left are losing their mind about MAGA. I mean, MAGA is just 90s Democrats. Another tweet that I found. Mr. Editor, can you put up on screen the tweet from Adam Rossi, where he basically describes that he once spent a week working in a factory in Guangdong, China, I believe. And he's talking about how they were making consumer goods, curtain rod assemblies, I think it was, out of aluminium and plastic. And that basically the whole thing was an absolute hellhole. They took their scrap product and burnt it right outside the factory. So burning plastic and aluminium, or scraps of aluminium outside the factory. They provided these sandwiches that flies wouldn't even land on because they're so toxic from the plastic fumes and the rest of it. They slept, on a dorm at the top of the factory. Basically, it sounds like absolute hell, living and working in this factory. And he's saying, well, look, Americans are not going to work like this. They're not going to accept working conditions like this. True. So if you're an American and you want curtain rods, or you're a store that wants to sell curtain rods, well, you're just going to have to pay, because you're already paying a pitifully low rate. You're now going to be paying a pitifully low rate plus whatever it was, 34%. So yeah, your costs have gone up, but it's all part of a larger effort. Again, a lot of these posters, they're missing the key point. Yes, it's going to be. Well, I had more sympathy for the last guy who had a business. I mean, does it really matter if Americans have to pay a little bit more for their bloody curtains, the curtain poles? I mean, really, it's part of a larger necessary theme, and who knows? Maybe even there's some smart US businessman who employs a bit of automation and produce his own curtain rolls. And no, they won't be as cheap as the Chinese ones, even with the tariffs on top of them, but they'll be better made. And they will last you longer. And they will come in a box that says made in America. And maybe some people, instead of buying the $9.99 on Amazon Chinese curtain rails, will spend $29.99 on US made better American curtain rails. Things we talk about on Brokenomics. US workers are not going to be like that, but US workers will produce better stuff and they will adapt to automation better, and the US could be on a path to something better.
If you would like to see the full version of this premium video, please head over to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to gain full access to all of our premium content.